For my collection of Galactus type Lego minifigures, I have a bootleg from several years ago, this big statue that doesn't have any posability or articulation, unfortunately. And when it comes to my minifigures for the Fantastic Four, I want something that's a little bit more impressive for my collection, which comes to today, which will almost certainly become the minifigure of the year for me, being this giant version of Galactus done by Ling on a huge Lego lamp. Just look at the size difference here. Very excited to check it out, so let's pop open the lid. It's going to come in a plastic case. It'll be pretty typical of what Ling does, maybe a little less sturdy, just because the lid comes off a little easier, but just look at that. First glance, you just see the metallic, very cool material and printing to give it a nice look. You get the Silver Surfer minifigure with chrome-plated surfboard to match it. Very excited to check those out. So you get the Herald, you get actual Galactus. There's a couple different layers of the foam to give it even more extra protection to secure it in. So that's really cool to see. And it's one of those things where I probably don't want to take this out on camera just because it'll be a little more fragile, but you also get the card under there that we'll take a look at as well as soon as I pull it out. And another really cool thing about this is he actually personalized all of these collector cards where you could put 5 characters on it. So I put my first name, as you can see right there, Ethan, got 37 out of 53, so very limited. Also not that limited. I feel like 50 is a pretty high quantity for a huge thing like this. It's probably a whole process to get together. So I own very cool collectible, basically 2% of all of them that were made. Like I said, you know, Silver Surfer is going to be nice and secure in there as well. Glad to actually get this too, since I don't have an official, I guess, kind of official custom minifigure. I only have a bootleg. Rather own something made by a designer like this, just because it's a little better crafted. And on the back, like all of their other minifigures too, you get the kind of cool collector card where it has the description of the character, quote by them, and artwork for them as well. All these are made from an official Lego lamp, like I said, obviously with some custom molded parts, but very cool piece to have. And let's go ahead and check it out a little bit closer, starting with the Silver Surfer. Due to his chrome coating, it's going to be very hard to actually see the design on this minifigure, just the way that it obviously is with the reflective surface, but you can see normal ab lines from pretty much every superhero Marvel minifigure that they've made. Face looks fine, where it's got the cheekbones, the eyes, a bit of an angry expression, perfect. Back, again, with some muscle lines as expected. I guess if I kind of block the lighting a little bit, you can see it a little bit better, but very hard to see on camera due to the thickness of the chrome. It doesn't fit super well on studs, so that's something I'm experiencing there. And again, with the chrome coating, it just makes it a little bit thicker on the arms and torso, so movement's going to be a little bit more difficult, and you won't want to do it too much to damage it, and you don't want to handle it too much with your fingers because it will just get fingerprints on it. So that's something I've been struggling with as I've been looking at it. Also comes with the surfboard, which is just a Lego surfboard. Again, chrome plated. I don't really want to put it in the hand because I'm sure that could damage the chrome on the hand or the surfboard, but this has the nice black lines that are pretty typical of the drawing in the comics. And I guess I will sacrifice the stud to put a foot on there. Ugh, I don't love it. It's so hard to get on due to the thickness of everything. God, I hate that. It makes an awful crack noise as you put it on, so that was very stressful. Don't love it. On the bottom, not chromed out, so no problem placing that where you want it to. But I'm glad to have Silver Surfer in some way. Just like the chrome look like this really makes me uncomfortable. Just because I don't want to damage it. I don't want to stress it too much and like crack it in some way. I guess now that I've done it a couple times, it's not as awful. But you can use it with the surfboard, yay. Fun to have both of them. Looks good, and let's go to Galactus. I guess I just noticed this. You can see that there's a little bit of the black line printed on the outside of the studs as I'm rotating it. So that's kind of funny to see. And it kind of curves weird around the studs. I guess I do actually have a little bit of black chipped in between the studs, so that's kind of a bummer, but I just thought that was kind of a funny thing to see. I want to point that out. The first thing I want to get into is the scale here, where I have my custom Sentinel, the Galactus we just looked at, Big Fig, the Ling flashlight minifigure, which also has a Galactus version that I don't have, and normal minifigure. This is where it's going to be extremely extremely impressive, sliding in the middle there. A little shorter than the Sentinel, obviously a lot taller than the other Galactus, towering over the big fig and the minifigure, so it's going to look great on display, going to be the centerpiece of your collection if you have a Marvel collection. And let's get closer into the actual detailing of it. And as I showed, with his size, it's going to be a little harder to take a close look at this on camera with my setup. So I'll do my best to kind of give a look at it all at once. Like you can see right now, it's too tall to show without it being like super far out with the camera, but metallic looks great. And really, I don't know if I already mentioned this, but definitely going to several times. It's just really cool to see Wing do different minifigure types like this. Like I mentioned in like the flashlight reviews, those were super cool and made a bigger minifigure, but seeing a lamp like this with even a custom molded helmet that goes on the lamp is crazy. And just the level of intricate detailing on the molding, whether it is like his weird horn things or just random pipe detailing throughout the minifigure, is just really impressive. He's able to get like printing all over the place with the silver for all those different bits and parts. And this is definitely going to be one of those characters and minifigures that you'd want to get a special case for, because otherwise it's just going to be a dust magnet and you don't want to be handling this more than you have to, just because, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to get it damaged. I feel like it's some way that'll happen, whether you're like just dusting it off. Like, I think I've had this sitting out now for like 1 day and it's already getting dust everywhere, and as you're messing around with it, it's just going to be a little bit more likely that some of the ink could scrape off or just anything could get damaged in some way. You'll knock it over. I don't want that to happen, obviously. Looking at the face, you can see that the eyes are actually kind of looking down, which is nice to give him the effect of like looking down on the actual character since he's so much bigger. Having the straightforward eyes would probably be nice too, but I don't mind that look at all. I think that is kind of the preferred way to have it. I think I did take the helmet off to take a look at that earlier. That's why the eyes are a little bit crooked. And another thing, just careful to do that too often. I don't know if I caused it, but there's like some scraping on my copy. That could have been during the process when they removed the official parts, or maybe I damaged it. I don't know. As you can see, there's just like some glue and stuff, I'm sure. So I think this was from like a Ninjago lamp originally, so they had to take off like the ninja hood. You can see like some of the yellow peering through, especially at the top where the helmet goes on. Now obviously this head is going to be the most simple part of the printing overall. You can see that it's pretty much just like a normal minifigure, but definitely don't want to take that off and on too much. I feel like this is definitely going to be one of those tough areas. This thing's pretty hefty too, honestly, which is nice to see. It's not just like a flimsy piece of plastic. And again, just nice and careful. But really loving the purple. You know, at first I was kind of bummed to get this more detailed version instead of the very classic comic look, which would have been closer to like the other two versions that I showed earlier. But I feel like when you get to this bigger scale, having more detail goes a long way. I felt that way about the Master Mold versus the other Ling Sentinel, since this one has more intricate printing. I think that continues here. Getting a closer look at the helmet, just look at those really nice grooves, and it's really impressive to see them printing like the silver on the inside of all these different areas where they molded different detailings. Looks great. I'm not seeing any blemishes or anything in the printing. Looks like everything ended up okay in shipment and everything. Packaging did its job. And again, just with the amount of detail at the size, it's nice. If it was smoother, maybe it wouldn't look as impressive as it does here. And one thing I guess I'm maybe noticing is that there's kind of some gappage. Maybe not, I guess it's the same on both sides, where I felt like this one was a little bit more popped out. But this is definitely going to be one of those fragile pieces where you don't want to touch it too much. I guess right there, maybe I got a little bit of damage to the paint or ink, whatever you want to call it. Bound to happen somewhere, especially when you're covering like such a big area. Over in the back here, I'll drop down to the back, and it actually does still have all of the different lamp parts in the minifigure. So if you wanted to put batteries in this, you could unscrew the back in theory and turn it on. If you really wanted to. Obviously, I don't know why you would. Having a battery in here and then forgetting about it and having it like a road would be kind of a bummer. But lots of different design motifs continuing, like the silver piping. I feel like the purples match everywhere, and the blue is kind of a nice contrast to the purple. I feel like Galactus is just one of those really iconic characters. And obviously, it's not like the magenta dark pink version, but we have this more modern take. Right now I have him kind of leaning forward. And fix that. There, we're good. Legs feel like they're a little bit easier to turn. The hands and arms are where I would be a little bit more cautious, I guess. Oh, I guess not. But with the friction, though, I would be a little bit more careful as you're rubbing against the outside of the body. It's kind of a cool little bit of silver continuing along the side of the torso there. Looks like a little bit of silver is missing on the corner. But arms look cool. Got inside of the arm printing as well, with some screws even, so still adding detail where they maybe didn't even have to. Hands, actually, yeah, they're pretty easy to rotate too. I'm not sure the size of the hand, what you would actually be able to fit in there. I don't know if it would be a normal Lego part, but you could always position a minifigure with their arms out in some way to get them to fit. If you wanted to use some sticky tack of some sort, it's a perfect 2x2. No, so it's a little bit smaller than a Lego 2x2 brick, tile, whatever. So good to know, I guess, if you think about that. The front of the torso is definitely where the most detail is present on the figure, of course. You can even see, like, in the silver, there's some extra light gray or different shades of something on, like, his, like, circle belt parts. That's kind of nice to see. More tubing all over the place. He has this weird arc reactor, whatever you would call that, on his chest plate. And there's just, like, some nice shading, like, on the middle of the purple there, where it's got some lighter parts to give it some depth. Let's check the arm on this side and see how much. Yeah, this one is a little bit harder to turn. Hand is fine, though. Again, you're going to want to position this the way you want to and put it there for forever and never touch it again, because this is just such a great piece. It'd suck to damage it in some way by accident. Definitely would regret if that happened. So that's the torso. Great detailing. Even on the arms, everything's fitting together really well in a cohesive design. And finally, the legs. A little bit of what I've already said. Nice blue, little bits of silver kind of continuing on. So the design, very seamless all over the place. Like a little bit of front boot printing there where it's on the toes. Just basic boot detailing on the outside as well. Just in the leg area, more silver. So that's one of the nice little bits that kind of breaks up the design everywhere else. It's just the assorted little bits of that silver for piping, and again, other details. Kind of pointing out the obvious, but it's just true. Bending the legs, not awful. There is going to be a little bit of blue at the tops there if you're trying to pose them in a walking position. Printing will break up a little bit, but you are also able to bend it in all the way. No printing on the inside of the legs. Yeah, so you can see there's just a lot of blue on the top of the leg there, but he can sit if you want him to. So that's kind of fun. Don't know why you'd want to. I guess maybe you can make him a Thanos throne. I don't know if he's ever had that in the comics, but nice to see that none of the articulation is hurt by this being like this weird lamp thing. It is basically just a large minifigure, which is perfect. That's what I would want for something like this. I guess I haven't showed it yet. I'm assuming the head can turn. Yeah. I feel like this is kind of the best way to do it, by grabbing the face. That way you don't have to take the helmet off to turn the head, but that'll help a lot for photography, obviously. That's kind of the basic scheme here. I don't know what else I could really say or show off. It was a more expensive piece, but it is also a once-in-a-lifetime, very unique character to have in the collection. So I feel like the price is definitely warranted. I think 50-ish definitely would make sense to me, since it was at that higher price point, but I could definitely see this going up in value in the aftermarket as more people see it, get into collecting, and see something like this. Having something at that minifigure scale or brick build is fine, but having something that is scaled like a minifigure, proportioned like a minifigure like this is just very special. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Had to pick it up. It was a day one purchase for me. And I wish I had my HasLab Galactus to kind of compare this to, but that's in Minnesota, so maybe next year if I drive back home, I can drive it back with me, because I feel like this takes a lot of cues from that and the design of that, especially in the mask area. I feel like it's probably like a one-to-one copy of that, honestly, which is fine. I think the HasLab, again, did a good job of modernizing his look, which you can see here as well. And just makes me excited to maybe hopefully get those Fantastic Four minifigures in the new set, and just build him up around some sort of Fantastic Four mock. And like I said, I'm going to get some sort of case for him, hopefully. Then I can maybe display the Fantastic Four with him too in the Fantastic Car. I feel like that would be kind of a fun build, but let me know, what do you think? And how would you go about displaying something like this? Just let me know in the comments. If you want to see more custom Lego Marvel or Fantastic Four adjacent minifigure reviews, check out all the content on my channel. I have been Brick Radiop, and I'll see you in the next video.